Hello, welcome to your second lesson. Today we are going to talk about how to name the notes on a musical stuff. So let us start with the basics again. The notes are called with the letters of the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There are 7 notes. Now, how do we know where to place them on the music stuff? Well, that depends. It depends on our access key to naming them, and that is called a clef. A clef is a symbol that appears at the beginning on the left-hand side of a musical stuff, and it tells us where a certain specific note is. So the clef that you see now on the bottom of your screen is called a treble clef, and it is used to identify the notes of the higher range. Now the treble clef is also called a G clef because it tells us where the G is. And if you look quite carefully, let's zoom in on it, that specific middle part of the clef looks like a G. And it definitely used to be back in the ancient times, but then they decided to decorate and over-decorate the clef. So that's what the treble clef looks like, and it gives us the position of the G. The next clef we're going to learn about is the bass clef, which is used for the notes of the lower range. The bass clef is also called an F clef because it gives us the position of the F. In the same way, if we zoom in, it kind of looks like the shape of an F, which has been heavily ornamented and altered over the centuries. And that is the position of the F. So, to sum it up, in the treble clef, we've got a G, which is standing on the second line from the bottom. And with the F clef, we've got the F, which is instead on the 4th line from the bottom. So if we put all of these 2 musical staves together, one on top of the other, we can draw a few notes which converge towards a center. So in the treble clef, we've got G, F, E, D, C. While on the F clef, we've got F, G, A, B, C. Now, of course, the notes, when we put them in sequence and we have run out from A to G, well, they repeat. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and so forth. They will just keep going. And the same way when they go down, because there are plenty of notes. If you just look at a piano keyboard, there are 88 keys. So plenty of notes. So if we start to draw those 2 staves together, we will see that the C will end up coinciding in the same position. Now, that is because those 2 C's are exactly the same note. The C, which is just under the staff in the treble clef, and the one which is above the staff in the bass clef are exactly the same note, and they sound exactly the same. So we have actually found what is the real relationship in terms of distance between those 2 clefs. Now that C is commonly referred to as middle C because it is the one that resides in the very middle of a piano keyboard. It is the central C of a piano keyboard. So now let us explore the notes that sit on the lines of the musical stuff. For the treble clef, we've got E, G, B, D and F going up. And for the bass clef, we've got G, B, D, F and A. If now we look at the notes on the spaces between the lines, in the treble clef we are going to have F, A, C, E, and in the bass clef we are going to have A, C, E and G. So let's have a look on the treble clef and let's form a scale that goes from one A to another A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. As you can see, now we have run out of lines in the musical stuff. You might have noticed that earlier when we got to the middle C. So what do? Well, we just put a little cut across the note, which will remind us that it is as if there was an additional line. Now, those little lines, those little cuts, are called ledger lines. And you can have plenty of those when the notes go really high or really low in relation to the musical stuff. In the same way, we can have a scale that starts from the C and ends up on another C above it. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And that is called, incidentally, the scale of C major. We shall see in the future many more scales, and we will explore why there are so many. Now, many years ago, a system was developed by a guy named Zoltan Kodály, which was aimed at helping children to learn how to sing very quickly. That system was very much based on the way the notes are learned in the Mediterranean countries like Italy, Spain, Greece and France. We call them with different names. Instead of C, we have Do. Instead of D, we have Re. If you are at all familiar with the old movie The Sound of Music, you might remember the song Do a Deer. Do you remember that? Do a deer, a female deer, Re, a drop of golden sun, me, a name I call myself, Fa, a long, long way to run, So, a needle pulling thread, La, a note to follow, So, Tea, a drink with jam and bread, that will lead us back to Do. Is it familiar? Well, the start of each semiphrase, the start of each verse, happens with the name of the note of the scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Although in Italian we call T, C, but in English that would be confusing with the note, the letter C. So here we go with T. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So why am I telling you this different system? Aren't we learning about ABC? Yes, but this will come in very handy when it comes to learn our scales. So all you've got to remember now is that Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, which is the scale going up, and Do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do is the scale going down. And that is the archetype of the major scale. A major scale always sounds like Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, independently of where it starts. So if I started my major scale on the note of C or D or F, it would still sound the same but at a different pitch. So, for example, Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. I have sung the same scale, which is a major scale, at different pitches, still using the same names because they identify something that we can do very easily. So why don't you now pause the video and try to sing the major scale from whatever pitch you like. Now let's bring our focus back to naming the notes and identifying their names while seeing them on the musical stuff. Now we've had a little bit of an idea of what they sound like. So let's go full screen with this. I have named, just to help you out a little bit, the first note here, which is an A. Now, please pause the video and try to name all the notes. Now you can check whether you got them right or not. This is just a very small exercise, but the more you will do it, and the more you will become familiar with the notes in the treble clef. Now let's move on and do the same exercise for the bass clef. Again, I have named the first note of the exercise, which is an A, to make your life a little bit simpler. Now you can pause the video again and try to name all the notes. And now you can check whether you got that right or not. You should, of course, go back to these two little exercises quite often in order to make the connection between what your eyes see and what your brain can recognize stronger and stronger and stronger. And in the same way, you should try to get hold of some pieces of simple music which you can find anywhere on the internet. If you just look for sheet music or for some music score, and just try to name the notes independently of the rhythm. Now a little written exercise for us. So let's go full screen. Please print out what you see on the screen now, and let's try to write a melody. As you can see, there are no bar lines. The rhythm is not necessary. Let's try to remember what we have learned about Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do, which is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, with the notes. And let's try to create a melody using those notes. Try to put the notes on the musical stuff and let's see what it sounds like. This concludes lesson number 2. I shall see you at lesson number 3, where we will put rhythm and pitch and notes together to form real melodies. And we shall also look at the distance in terms of pitch between notes, the so-called intervals. See you then.